What's going on, guys? I'm the FPL chairman and welcome to my new series, Hot or Cold. In this video series, what I'll be looking at is some of the best options for FPL that we've seen in the most recent game week and some players who have not hit the form that we were expecting. I'll try and keep this video relatively short just so it's something you can look at when you're theorising your transfer strategy going into game week 3. But without further ado, let's get into it. The first player that I'm looking at today is Wissa from Brentford. Coming off a 3-0 win away against Fulham, I think this is an amazing cheap option that you can get in forward. Obviously this week we saw that João Pedro didn't start, so there are a lot of FPL managers who are looking to move him on potentially. Wissa is 6.1 million. He's owned by just less than 10%, and already in just 2 game weeks he's got 20 points, which is a phenomenal return for a striker that really wasn't in many people's team at all. What I've put here is basically you can see the next 5 game weeks, and Brentford have absolutely phenomenal fixtures. Fantasy Football Hub's point prediction have Wissa consistently performing above 4 points, which is really strong. Brentford have Crystal Palace, then Bournemouth, both at home, which are games that Brentford absolutely can get a win at and returns. When you look at Wissa, he is leading the line for Brentford. He has one of the highest shots and XG at 1.42, which is phenomenal. He's already got 2 goals this season. And yeah, he's absolutely hitting the ground running. He has an absolutely massive high ceiling. Given the amount of money that you're spending on him at 6.1, that leaves you up to free so much cash elsewhere, but he is able to deliver on points. I've also pulled up basically his chart and his heat map. As you can see, he's operating incredibly high at the pitch, really in that 6-yard box, which is exactly where you want your forward to be. And in terms of his graph on the left, you can see that he's massively high in terms of shots in the box and shots on targets, which are reflected in the heat map as well. So for me, Wissa is absolutely someone that you guys need to be getting in your FPL team if you're looking to move people on or free up more money outside of the forward role. The next player we're looking at is Diaz, currently 7.6 million and owned by 12%. He is currently on 15 points from 2 game weeks. Now, although Liverpool don't have the strongest fixtures that you can see at the top, where they're facing Newcastle away, then Aston Villa at home, then Wolves, I still think Liverpool have the output to get attacking returns in these tough game weeks. As you can see from Diaz, he's 0.94 for expected goals and 0.24 for expected assists coming from the left wing area. He's second to Salah in ex-goal involvement and big chances, which is brilliant considering how many attacking threats that Liverpool do have. I am slightly, but not overly concerned by the amount of minutes that he's getting. Very similar to Jota, he's getting in maybe around 70 minutes per game and then being subbed off, as Liverpool do have a massive depth in attackers with the likes of Darwin Núñez, Gakpo, for example. But as we've seen, McAllister missing a few games now, that depth will have to be stretched back into the team, so hopefully his minutes will go up as well. But even operating from that left wing, you can see that he's first for shots in the box in that Liverpool squad, which again is phenomenal when you consider all the other attackers there. If you look at the graph, very similar to what we just said with Wissa, he's pretty decent for shots in the box and shots, but also having quite a medium level in terms of expected goals and expected big chances. So Diaz is definitely a hot player for me. The only option is if his only challenge is if you have got the money to be able to move him into your team at the 7.6 million range. He's in that sort of midfield bracket, mid-budget player where you may need to free up points. But if you're someone who's rolled a transfer into game week 3, this is definitely someone that you should be picking out. Moving on to the cold players then. So we're going through 2 cold players. The first one is, as I think maybe some of you expected, a Man United player, and that is Rashford. I've certainly been very disappointed with how Man United have started. I have Bruno Fernandes and Rashford both in my team, and you could probably throw Bruno and Fernandes into this as well. But for this, I'll be focusing on Rashford because his 9 million price tag was definitely something you had to consider, given how much. But I think the expectations for FPL managers before game week 1 was that he'd definitely be returning. He's not really operating in that left wing role that you can see from his heat map, more so as the sort of the striker lead in the line, obviously with Rasmus Højlund not starting yet for Manchester United following his transfer. But it's not really working for Rashford, and he's not yet converting. Although in the United squad he is the highest for expected goals and the highest for big chances, that's not come to fruition yet, and he is still waiting for that first goal of the season. So for me, he's falling into that cold bracket. The one saving grace I would say for Man United, and especially Marcus Rashford, is that they have got Forest at home in the next fixture, where he's got a predicted points of 6.7, which is incredibly high. But really, after that, it begins to get difficult again with Arsenal away, then Brighton at home. So for me, this is the last roll of the dice for Man United assets, because at 9.9 million for Rashford, 8.5 million for Bruno Fernandes, that's a lot of money spending on guys that aren't returning for that. And when you're spending that much money, you are expecting points. You look at the two players we just looked at in the hot list. You've got Wissa at 6.1 million, who's returning 20 points in 2 game weeks. That's what we'd be expecting. So it's been a very disappointing and a very cold start for Manchester United and Rashford. So that's why he's on this list. You can still see, though, in his chart, his shots in the box is incredibly high in his shots. So he has attacking threat. But like I said, it's just not come to fruition so far. And obviously United's performances with the 1-0 win at Wolves, which was very unconvincing, and losing 2-0 to Spurs as well. It's been a very disappointing start. So for me, he is cold. The final player on my list that maybe has been slightly forgotten, although he is owned by 32% of FPL managers, is Kieran Trippier at 6.5 million. He's only returned in the first 2 game weeks 4 points. Now, given Newcastle had an absolutely phenomenal start with a 5-1 win against Aston Villa, of which Trippier didn't register a points return. They also obviously lost to Manchester City over the weekend with a 1-0 loss there. So 4 points from 2 game weeks for, again, one of the most expensive defenders in a very strong Newcastle team has been very disappointing, and that is why he is a cold player for me at the moment. He is 4th in the Newcastle lineup for expected assists at 0.55. He does have the highest key passes at 5 within the Newcastle squad, but at the moment, in terms of his attacking output, it's been nil. It's been absolutely nothing. Obviously, he's playing at right back, but holding a very deep role. He is on set pieces where we'd expect potentially some returns. But so far, obviously, with the 2 game weeks that we've seen, we've not seen any attacking returns. It's not an easy run of fixtures for Newcastle either, with Liverpool at home, then Brighton away, Brentford at home, but then going into a slightly easier games in terms of Sheffield United away and Burnley at home. So if he is a player that you have in your team and you do have the option of maybe having 2 free transfers and that you've rolled it into game week 3, I think there are much better players who have higher potential at a lower price. And for me, I mentioned this in a previous video, I think this is the FPL season where I think midfield options and forward options are where money needs to be spent. There's not going to be as many clean sheets this year, given how much, obviously, extra minutes are being played. So for me, the 32% ownership in FPL is still quite surprisingly high, given his poor performance for now. So things need to change for Trippier. He does have that potential to be able to get points and get assists, but it's not happening at the moment. So guys, that was my hot or cold video and my very nicely drawn picture here. You can see that Wissa and Diaz are in the hot section and Trippier and Rashford are in the cold section. I will just do a final thought. Rashford, I do believe, even though his performance is poor, he does have a massive ceiling, so I would be holding him for game week 3 going into Forest. Trippier, if you are someone who has him, I would definitely be looking to move him out of my team. But if you've got Wissa and Diaz already, great. If you don't, definitely should be getting them on your radar to bring them in. But guys, that was my first video of hot or cold, looking at sort of transfer strategies going into game week 3 and the following game weeks. So if you did like this video, please drop it a like. If you're enjoying the content so far, or if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe, because I'm really enjoying pushing this content out, really enjoying the FPL season so far. Not doing the best so far, but if you follow me on Twitter at the FPL Chairman, you'll be able to see my points haul and my thoughts and frustrations every single game week. But that's the video, guys. I hope you have a great one, and I'll see you next time.